911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my sensor light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. It looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sure.
Tia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch experience.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Sasquatch Experience. I'm Sean the Pork Chop Porker. He's Henry May. That's James Baker. And that's Vance Nesbitt. And here we are tonight. Welcome back to the first show of 2021. That's right. We kicked that old bitch to the curb. 2021 is back. Or is here. It's not back because we've never been in 2021 before. But we're here to have a great time. I guess we should call a shout out to our Patreons, Brian and Tom, who support us each and every month. We're working our butts off to bring a lot more content to you guys, our best supporters, our favorite supporters, and to the rest of the unpaying public who just like to freeload and listen to these shows. And that's also okay. That is okay too. Without you, we would just be four fat guys talking into the microphone.
Hey!
And well, you're not getting any thinner there, Sunshine. So
thank you.
Maybe you should switch to a hay diet.
Yeah, okay. Hey.
Anyhow.
I don't like that. Hey.
Henry looks smaller. Oh, wait,
yeah.
Henry's at the angle.
Yeah, James is joining us. For the majority of you folks, you'll be getting this via podcast, so you don't have to, put up with all these angles that we're getting. However, we do have the rest of us on here. We have a couple Facebook users on there. What's up, guys? Hey, guys. We got a fifth fat guy in there. Thanks, guys, for joining into the chat. Just tell us who you are so we can see, because you have to give StreamYard your permission to show your name and comments, or it just calls you Facebook user.
Right.
User. So, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm happy that 2021 is here. Not that COVID's going to mysteriously disappear and end like they said it would at the election, but the fact is there's a vaccine out now. We should start seeing some progress along those lines, and I think it's time people are going to start getting back out to the field, because when you look at last year, I don't know about you, and from your various areas where you've been from, Bigfoot sightings just really weren't coming in.
No. Well, nobody was going anywhere, and rightfully so. I mean, a lot were following the protocol, but a lot of public lands were also closed for access anyway. So, yeah, it's understandable, and I'm sure that probably has an undiscovered or at least uncatalogued creature scratching its head going, wait a minute, usually this time of year, these people come marching through here, and there was nobody this year. What's going on?
You make a good point. You talk about, psychology, the Sasquatch psychology. You wonder if they're going to be more prone to being active now because they've had less interaction with humans.
Right.
So are we going to see an uptick this year just because there was less opportunity to connect with people in these areas?
Oh, that's a very valid point, and it's a possibility. Look, there's a lot of cards on the table right now. There may just be twice the amount of hoaxing going on too, just because of the lag. So, take it for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Henry, what do you think?
I think it's a combination of all those factors.
So you're pro more. You're along those lines that we're going to have more sightings this year. You think?
It's a possibility. I mean, there's always. It depends on it. You have to have witnesses in order to have sightings. So.
Right. Well, get everybody back out in the field again, and that's that'll be the big thing. And
yeah.
Again, I think, Sean, you were mentioning the other day, none of these Squatch shows on TV are going to discover this thing with, the insanity in which they go about. But
no, and I think you absolutely have to understand that those shows aren't about finding Bigfoot or proving it exists. It's about perpetuating the mystery to draw ratings to make good TV. And that's not a bad thing if that's your department and your bread and butter. But if you're a researcher and you really want this proven, these shows aren't going to do it for you. I don't know why Bigfoot researchers get their panties in a twist when it comes to watching these shows and nitpicking everything. Because guys, look, all of us know it's entertainment. Like, and if you don't have an IQ high enough to understand that, then stay the hell out of the field because you don't belong in there anyhow. Like, it's about entertainment. It's not about finding these things. It's not going to happen. I think the show that's been, and I'm not knocking Finding Bigfoot or any of those other shows, but what I'm talking about is, so let's talk about Expedition Bigfoot because that came back last night, right? I don't know if you all seen it. I saw it. Henry saw it. We talked a little bit off the air about it. Episode 1, I actually called Expedition Boredom because aside from the Russ Accord intro, it really wasn't that exciting to me anyhow. And if it's not that exciting to me, sometimes I wonder how it's going to be to the general public. And I mean, right now, I think we're right on the cusp of Sasquatch phasing out of pop culture again.
That may not be a bad thing.
Yeah, and I know there's some doubt to it, but just think about it. It's getting oversaturated. And what I mean by that is, again, when we started this podcast in 0506, Henry, we say 0506 because it was a Yahoo chat group before it became a podcast. When we started this back then, there were like 3 shows about Bigfoot, Henry. There was us, Sasquatch, or Squatch Detective, and I think Bigfoot Central. Plus the Coast to Coast and the X-Zone radios that talked about it every once in a while. There wasn't a whole lot of it. And now here we go, 15 years later this year, right? Sasquatch Experience at 15. We are so inundated with cryptozoology, paranormal, and Sasquatch-themed talk radio. People have too many options to choose from. And it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
But then you get into this, Henry, and Vance and Baker, and you wonder, like, with all these shows out there, how much of the stuff that we're talking about anymore is just bullshit? Like, how much of it's being fabricated by the producers of these shows to keep and perpetuate a show? Right? So I just happened to go through the social media feed today, and I happened to see two Bigfoots wage war under a tree stand. That's remarkable. That's freaking fantastic. It's also a hot load of bullshit. Right? Like, it seems like the more sensational these stories become, the more people listen, it becomes clickbait, and you take away from the science. And guys, we've always been about science and entertainment. But damn, there has to be that scientific component to it too, right? So, like, my pledge this year was to get back out into the field and to quit being so much armchair as I've been the last couple of years, and really getting back out there to experience some of this. And Vance, I know you and I have a plan this year to go do some serious squatching in a very active area.
Yes.
But we owe it to ourselves to be a lot busier and be a lot more honest with this. And because of this oversaturation and this under-scientific approach, I think that we're going to see Sasquatch fatigue again, and it's going to burn itself out. Expedition Bigfoot, even though episode 1 wasn't a success for me, it's still a show I like because it tries to add a little bit more to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it also keeps it on the front page as best as it possibly can. But you brought up a good point by using the word oversaturation. You know, I know just on my personal Facebook post, in places that I go that I really didn't expect it, I'm finding Bigfoot paraphernalia. I see it in so many places now in retail where there's a little corner, oh, hey, they've got a Yeti over here, the Sasquatch, air freshener, the Pez dispenser, whatever it may be, it's found now more, and in the area in which I'm in is not a Squatch hotspot by any means. I'm just outside metropolitan Chicago.
Yeah, you're not known for your Squatches there.
No, unfortunately, no. Other things, but no, not that. But even this market here in this area, yeah, it definitely is saturated. So it's a viewer entertainment. You go to the store and you say, hey, yeah, I was watching that show. Oh, hey, they got this cool toy. Well, they're doing it for a reason because there's money being made off of it. And they're going to, when I say they, I'm talking about promotions and the corporations putting this stuff together, not big corporations, but, you know, small businesses putting this stuff together to keep at least a headline going so that they can continue to make money off of it until it just finally burns itself out. And then, you know, all of us will be in our corner hitting the field still. And if something is discovered, who's going to pay attention to it? And maybe that's all part of the big plan anyway, is bring people in slowly into this whole subject. So if something is cataloged as a real entity, maybe most people just go, all right, yeah, I've heard about it for so long. Yeah, it's no big deal. And they'll just go about their lives instead of this frenzy of let's hit the forest and kill one.
Baker, what do you think about that?
Well, I think we brought up the notion that I think there'll be more sightings this year. I don't think there will be. The reason I say is because the woods has been so quiet because a lot of us have been at home or whatever and things like that, and there's not people saying. I really think that if we all get back out in the wilderness, that whatever's out there is going to be like, hey, there's way too much noise going on here. They're out again. We're going to go hide where we usually do. Compared to, you know, like if it's just a common flow, like during deer season, it's kind of funny that the deer all know to go to areas where there would be no hunter.
Right.
No.
No, that's a very valid point.
No, that's a great point, Bake.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could agree with that.
I mean, I think that we have a better chance of finding things, but the thing is like, we have to, and this is the worst thing, is we've seen it change my news feed. There's somebody that has one, or why do I keep moving my head? Okay, so like there's always somebody that's seen this or Bigfoot, and I love the ones that are like, I see Bigfoot every day. Okay, well then you should be able to video it, and you need to shut up. Okay, but like I think a lot of times it cheapens the person who might actually have an experience because A, either he doesn't want to talk to people, or B, he or she feels that they're doing it for the publicity. I know it was a horrible movie, but it was the reason I watched it the other day. There's a Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know if you guys all saw it.
I didn't.
But okay, so the guy's named Carl, and he sees the Blue Devil, and he's like, I've seen it. I know it exists. I've been trying to travel, whatever. And they all think he's nuts until, well, damn, there was a blue hedgehog that could go really fast. Carl wasn't crazy. He was just hyper observant. You know. And I think that's what happens with a lot of these people that see these things, you know, that see these things once or whatever it is, and then they go out, they find it, but the problem is nobody listens to that guy because 2 towns over there's a guy that's just, you know, making shit up so that he can be on PBS.
Right.
You know, it's funny. And it's funny you bring that up because I was talking to a gentleman who's making a documentary over the weekend about the less appealing side of all this. And, you know, sometimes those people get the most attention, don't they? like the people that are the undesirables. And you wonder how, and I think it's just because it's all part of that media ploy to make us all look stupid and crazy. And I remember when I was working one of the East Coast Bigfoot conferences with Eric Alton in Pennsylvania. Henry, you know what I'm talking about, the old conferences back in PA. And they talked to one of the members of our organization, and it's not somebody we would want to talk to the press, but they found a way to get to the press and talk to them. And, you know, the next thing you know, there's 10 feet tall Bigfoots running around Pennsylvania hillsides, and it's like a common thing. And at that point, we decided, well, the group needs a spokesperson, and Dave Dragusin filled that role, the late Dave Dragusin, who we love and miss. But it's always funny how they find the people that are the kookiest to represent these, to be the typical researcher, right?
Right.
And I think that the people out there in the real world who follow Bigfoot people and this cult of cryptozoology followers realize that most of us are really just normal people with day jobs, and this isn't our, it's not a fetish, it's a hobby, and we really enjoy it and have some sense.
Right.
But Bake, I think you hit the nail on the head right, with your statement. And to go back to what you're saying, perhaps too much noise, it's not something I really thought about. I thought of it from the opposite perspective, because nobody's out there, we're going to be more interesting. But yeah, perhaps you're right. The fact that we haven't been out there, now they're not going to be used to our sounds and scents, and now it may frighten them off. That's a good point of view. Thanks.
Yeah.
Or it frightens us off. I was asked that question yesterday. Oh, let's go and find one. If that possibility was there. Yeah, but then you want to be able to set up the scenario in which you do witness one, and you can't do that. You just can't do that. So, again, it'd be great to see one at 100 yards behind, a protective Lexan bulletproof glass cage or something. Yeah, okay, I get that, but you don't have that option. And, of course, what's the infamous statement around the Sasquatchery world is, careful what you wish for.
I think people...
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bake. Please.
I think the problem is we're not taking it from a perspective of your dog chases cars, but if you ever caught one, what would he do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think half these people that are truly they go out in the woods and they're like, oh, I'm going to go catch Squatch, I'm going to see this stuff and all this. But if it actually happened, what is the game plan? Because I know that I've gone out with a bunch of, I'm going to do the air quote researchers. And the thing is at the end of the night, all I was told, and none of them had a side plan of saying, if we see it, you're going to take pictures. If we see it, it's your job to document what happened. If we see this happen, we're all like, it's cold. We're going to walk around and maybe we'll see something and we'll hear something and we'll do some tree knocks and we'll do some other things. And I'm not against it, but they make fun of shows and I'll use Mountain Monsters because Trapper was an amazing guy. But the fact is at least in the beginning of the show, they go, hey, we're going to go up to this Northwoods, blah, 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 and this is our plan. They didn't, yes, it was entertainment, but the same point is, do you notice the first 15 minutes is these guys are going to do this, and this is going to do that. We have a plan. I think a lot of people go out in the woods with no plan, and honestly, that's how bad things happen quickly.
No, very true. And, you could have a plan. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but if you do have a plan, are you going to stick to it? Because I think in a situation like that, and just trying to put myself in those witnesses' shoes, you're trying to figure out, am I actually seeing what I think I'm seeing, and do I go ahead and record? Oh, it just turned out to be something completely... Go ahead.
I think, and I was going to make the same point you are, you can have all the plans in the world you want, but when that oh shit moment happens, your drawers are just full. You're not thinking about, what's going to happen. And I could tell you that from experience. Right? I had a camera with night vision in my bag, Sony Handycam with the night shot and all that other stuff. And at that time, none of us thought about doing anything besides just trying to, and I know it sounds melodramatic now, but trying to survive.
Right.
right? Because fight or flight mechanism kicks in. You don't always think about, well, shit, I better start taking some footage and getting some. Yeah. You don't think of that. And that's where I kind of think groups like the NABRC and the Olympic Project, because they're out there so much and doing this repetitively,
right,
and they're exposed to these situations more, probably have the better chance of getting the evidence than Joe Smith in his backyard in Kentucky, right?
Right.
Because they're putting themselves in a situation to really get that evidence and collect it. We'll put some comments on here, guys. Mike Tyson always says everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
That's just true.
And it's so appropriate, right? Because that's, I think, what we were talking about. And again, like I said, with my own experience, I can tell you, like, all the plans in the world just wouldn't change the fact that, this thing that doesn't exist, or the world says not supposed to exist, is now right in front of you. And what do you do? Henry, what do you say to that?
I'll tell you what. I mean, the average Sasquatch sighting catches the witness by surprise. It's something that's totally unexpected, comes out of nowhere. And exactly, how do you plan for something like that? You don't. I mean, you could, Don Keating. I can name an example. He said the first sighting he ever had, he had a camera around his neck, and he never thought to take a picture of what he saw.
Well, that's true in so many cases, not just Squatch, but any life alternating event. You may have tools with you. Look, all of us carry a camera with us. Most of us have them on us or in proximity 24 hours a day, but how much weird stuff that you might have seen, you're not thinking about, I got to get a video of this. Yeah. It's just because you're in the moment, you're witnessing it, you don't want to miss a thing, and you got there it is, see? And you want to be able to capture that moment at least in your mind's eye when it's happening, instead of being distracted by trying to pull out some piece of equipment, which then the time is already gone and you missed it. So
I think
it's understandable.
My point isn't as much the random ones. I'm talking about the groups that seem to go out consistently and then consistently seem to find things. You think as consistently as they found things that they would be so prepared. Like I go out on my porch all the time and I see 3 of them and they're whatever and some, if you consistently you're going to walk out the door and it's playing with your dog, then you would be eventually past the shock point. You should be at a point where, And
I think that's the biggest point I have with habituation, is that for the longest time, these people make these claims that I've had experiences for years on my property, yet they always have the least amount of evidence.
Yeah.
Like come on, at some point, you have to shit or get off the pot. Like, you mean to tell me you can almost predict these guys are going to be at your house at 6:30 stealing pancakes out your window, but you're not going to have something there because they're automatically going to know when something's out of place or different. How about you put it back further in your kitchen and set it out and point it out that window, so when something comes up, at least someone's going to see something.
Right.
Yeah, or you would know where they stood, so therefore you would take some footprints, or you would look for samples of certain things. Or the ones I love are I'm keeping my evidence, and so no one else can get it. Okay, well then stop talking, because obviously you don't want somebody to, be involved. Therefore, you don't need to tell someone.
Well, the other thing is, unless these things are telepathic, they're not going to read your mind, right? They're not going to know you put a camera up.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying it out there, right? There's those theories floating around, and we often get smacked around because we don't respect those theories enough. And you're right, I don't. But they're out there nonetheless. I just don't think it's practical, and I think it's cheap to try to use those excuses to just dismiss. That's why we don't have evidence. How about we just get better at collecting evidence? I mean, these things, animals only have so much intelligence. We only have so much intelligence. You
Right.
know, somebody can always outsmart somebody, and these things just can't be that smart where they're always outsmarting us.
No,
It's
and
not
I
gonna
don't
happen.
think that that's actually the case. I think the case is that yes, there's probably bodies and bones and enough of the physical evidence to catalog this creature. It's more like the reason why it's not being cataloged to this point, and then that's an entirely different show. I get that, because you can have that discussion for days and weeks as to, well, what's the big car? Why wouldn't we do this and expose it? But going back to my point, I guess the thing is maybe we're trying to break this in slowly. Those people that are doing habituation, it drives me crazy to hear the witness say, oh yeah, I've seen him 15 times, but I can't show you the location. I'm not going to show you my film footage. Then what are you doing the interview for? You're talking just to talk, but you're not going to show or give up any information as to what it is that you have.
Yeah. Let me show you this picture I took outside my grandma's bay window.
Okay.
And nobody's going to ask for the originals, right, James Baker?
Then you stick me in the truck with the nut ball that reminds me of Jason Voorhees' mom.
Yeah, that was great.
I
He jumped out of a moving vehicle.
vehicle.
He did to get away from this freak who, the guy, well, we meet up. It's a group investigation. We're told that this guy has some great photos, and he's going to take us to this area where he has Bigfoot experience, right? And so he's showing us these pictures. I'm not saying anything to be polite. I'm just standing back and just like, okay, this is interesting. And Bake's, there's about half a dozen of us there, and Baker's the only one that goes, hey, do you have the original? Because this is a blown-up copy with things circled, and James goes, hey, do you happen to have the original with you? And so the guy goes, and, yeah, I got it out in the glove box. He goes into the glove box, brings it out. Obviously, it's a picture taken outside of his grandma's garden bay window, and you can see the tulips and everything else, and this guy's got all kinds of things circled in it. And so we were all going to drive up to the top with him to the ridge, right? And well, it was myself, Kelly Beverly, the late Kelly Beverly, another lady I deeply miss, and James are going to ride up to the top of the ridge with this guy. Well, I say to Kelly, you know what? It's not that far of a walk. This guy's kind of giving me a vibe. Let's just walk up to the top. Well, we don't say anything to Baker. We don't, just forget to say anything to Baker. So we're going up this mountain. They're going up to the ridge. And all of a sudden you see this Jeep door fly open and Baker takes a flying lunge out of it. And he comes hobbling down to us. Why the hell did you leave me with this nutcase? What the hell's wrong with you? He was so mad. And the guy doesn't stop. The guy just keeps going. He never stops to turn around and look for James. He was probably still talking to James all the way up there. But James literally jumped out.
He kept talking and talking, and I looked around, no one was else in the car, and I'm like, you know what? I feel I should walk. Just, don't even need to slow down. Let me just open this.
So Baker got this nickname from our friend Monica Rowland. She calls him Tuck and Roll. That's
Tuck and Roll.
Tuck and Roll. But there's a story behind that, right? Like, so when you say, how do you plan? The answer is sometimes you can't plan because audibles have to be called. But at the same time, to Baker's point, there should be a framework that if you can pull your stuff together, this is what we're going to do, right? And I think that's a good place to really start that work. And I think that's what we're going to have to, especially where Vance, you and I are going without talking too much about it. Like, we should have a plan, and we should get together with the participants on some calls and really get some groundwork laid out for what we want to do. Because I feel very promising about this area. And
I do too.
It's been so long. I'm ready.
Oh, absolutely. And again, there's going to be a lot of pre-prep into this between you and myself. So when we are on location, there's not going to be any hemming and hawing. And no, at least we'll have a focus as to what it is we're there to do. I just received more audio last week, I believe, from that area. That's phenomenally crazy. And I know I've shared a lot of it with you, but yeah, it's definitely a ramped up area.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Folks that are listening, you can find us on social media, Sasquatch Experience on Facebook and Instagram, Squatch EXP on Twitter, and squatchexperience@gmail.com. You can email us. You can also go to our website, sasquatchexperience.com. We're going to be adding more stuff to the website here as time goes on. And, of course, you can become a Patreon, patreon.com/Sasquatch Experience, and support the show. We've got great things coming along the line. We got some special episodes put up, our Sasquatch Experience Still Searching, which we're going to turn into like a 10 to 15-minute weekly just mini presser from each one of the members here. We'll probably do a solo interview or just a what's on my mind or something fun to kind of get your whistle wet for the next episode. The next episode's coming for the Still Searching is James Baker's interview, how he gets started, and then my son is interviewing me about how I got started into the world of Bigfooting. Young Master Fork, Little Fork, is going to get his feet wet into broadcasting and interview the old man to talk about my fascination with Bigfoot and how it got started for me. So this is all stuff that's going to be coming down the line, and I'm excited for you guys to hear all this. Because, yeah, I mean, to give a little explanation, life got carried away from us over the holidays. We didn't plan on not producing a lot of content. Things just happened, and again, from the four of us, we apologize for that. But we're going to make it up to you. We promise. We've got those special Far Giorgio project that's being worked on that we're going to get out to our supporters. It's going to be a really cool. I think once it's finished, you guys are really going to like it. I think our listeners are going to like it too. A little kind of poster for them, and then we're going to get our Patreons on here to kind of guest host with us too on one of the shows. And our Patreons are people that are really interested in the world of Bigfoot. Some of them are investigators themselves, and we'll get a chance to talk with them and even interview them a little bit. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Great things coming to Sasquatch Experience. We're going to have a Sasquatch Experience show like this every 2 weeks with the filler of the Still Searchings, because with our schedules, it's still kind of hard to get a weekly episode going on. When we first agreed to start this again, Henry and Vance and Bake, it was every 2 weeks. So we're going to still do our best to give great content. So enough of our plugs and our stories and our plights. Back to the big man. What do you guys got? Henry, what's on your mind with Bigfooty?
Well, I just want to can we just take a minute to praise Todd Prescott for the stuff he's been doing. He's been putting out these great videos and audio clips and things like that of classic Bigfooters. I mean, Roger Patterson, Bob Gimlin, Ivan Sanderson, John Napier.
Yeah. It was really good. Sasquatch Archive, right?
Sasquatch Archives, exactly.
Yeah. It's on YouTube. And he's providing it to everybody for free.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best part. And this is legacy Bigfoot stuff. And in fact, I would tell listeners that are listening to this podcast to, when you're done listening to us, because we're still important and relevant, to go and watch this stuff on YouTube that Todd Prescott's put out, the Sasquatch Archive. And I'll put a link to it on the Sasquatch Experience. I'll throw it in our groups, and I'll even put a little poster on the video cast so folks can see it on our next show, because it is important. And Todd's going through and really preserving history, and you're seeing things that you haven't seen in some time. Also, to kind of shamelessly plug us a little bit, I want you to go back and listen to, if you go to Super NRML on Spreaker or on YouTube, you can listen to one of our archive shows that Maz Adams and I did with Mike Freeman, the son of Paul Freeman, where he fills in a lot of the blanks about his dad and the all the experiences his father had. In fact, I may dual post that over here on Sasquatch Experience into our the experiencers. Yeah.
Right.
But no, Henry, that's a great call out, because Todd's been doing just amazing work with the Sasquatch Archives. Again, Sasquatch Archives on YouTube. What else you got, Henny?
Come on, baby.
Yep.
You got anything else for us?
Other than the fact that I sent you that video the other night, Forker, that you immediately jumped on the clickbait thing, and it's possible.
I'm sorry.
It's very possible it was a clickbait. However, I will just say I've watched the series of videos that this person has put out. It just is not like her. That's not her domain. That's not her genre. That's just not her thing. But maybe somebody tipped her off to saying, hey, you might be able to increase your audience if you were to bring in the Squatchers. That's possible, but I do know that she is solo. She doesn't have a camera person or a partner. All of her videos are solo experiences just regarding camping life, camping equipment, and just to post a video that was 3 minutes long that this thing came into her cab while she's sleeping in her camper, or her pickup camper, bed camper to be more specific, sleeping in bed, and this thing opens up her truck door and starts digging around in her cab, and she, said, hey, and she woke her up from sleeping. She looked out the window and sees this monstrous bipedal thing digging through her bins that were on her front seat. And of course it took off running. Okay, it is what it is. She did capture a video, but it is what it is.
So my thing is, we are going to try to get her on the show.
Yes, I've already. Yes.
And Vance, if you do me a favor, why don't you post that link in the experiencers page?
Okay.
So we can give our guys in there the opportunity to view the video for themselves.
Right.
So they can see what we're talking about. Because, I watched it last night, and I told you I went in watching it. I've never seen any of her work before. Of course, you got me as a subscriber. But, but we're going to keep following this because it's, it's interesting. And nonetheless, whether I think, I just didn't think her reaction was genuine enough. And, I could be wrong. I'm probably not, but I could be. And I think if we can get her on and we can talk to her, I think it would make the world a difference too.
Oh, I think so too. And again, like I said, it could very well have been a clickbait thing. No. I was judging it from the first 15 seconds of the video that she shot, because you can tell she looked rather upset. And it's kind of hard to kind of paint that picture. You have to get yourself into that frame of mind. And I don't think she's an actress. She's just monetizing her YouTube channel. But that first 15 seconds seemed a little bit, she was distraught. I'll go that far. Now, later on in the video, watching the whole thing, she's trying to promote her own product too, while waiting to see if she captures anything on a camera, and she's selling her mushroom coffee, which is mushroom. And of course, people in the comment sections were, jumping in there. Valerie pointed it out, going, "Yeah, what were those mushrooms that you're using in your coffee?" But who's to say? Who's to say? Yeah, I will link it. So that everybody can see it too.
Good, because I want to get their opinions in there, and when we get the person on the show, we'll be glad to. And we're being a little vague because I want it to happen. You know what I mean? Right. I don't want to just put them on the spot and say, hey, we've already committed you. We want to make sure it's going to happen. So we're going to kind of leave it a little vague until we get more confirmation, but it was worth it. Mm-hmm. And you know what, though? Like in the world of YouTube, like people, how they get their information is changing. The network TVs aren't as popular as they used to be. Cable TV is not as powerful as it used to be. Mm-hmm. Streaming's the future because that's why networks are getting into streaming. Information is being dispensed a lot faster, a lot quicker than it ever has been. And we have to do our due diligence and stay on top of this stuff and kind of be a guiding force and to kind of light and try to be as unbiased as possible in terms of this research, right? And it's kind of hard to do that because going into this, even sometimes I have my own bias. I'm like, well, one, she's far too attractive to be interested in Bigfoot. And two, to me, I just didn't find her to be genuine, and that may be a totally unfair statement of me. So our own bias sometimes affects even the things we report on, and I'm going to try to be a little bit better about that.
Yeah, but I think that's also a fair slice of pie that you do it that way. because I think each one of the four of us has a different perspective on it of, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's real, and you may be like, yeah, look, here's a couple of reasons why I don't think. I think that's the fairest reason of all. Just like the shirt that you're wearing with Small Town Monsters. Every one of their documentaries is not trying to sway you to say, yeah, this creature is real, or no, it's not. It's just throwing the story out there and looking at it from every angle possible.
Yes, folks. I'm a Small Town Monsters mark. I'm a good friend of Seth Breedlove. I don't know if he admits that publicly anymore, but I'm a good fan of Seth. I'm a good friend of Seth, and I love every one of his movies. In fact, you can check out The Bell Witch, Mark of the Bell Witch, that's out now. It's probably one of the more enjoyable documentaries I've seen in some time, and it's even more so better than most of anything that else is out there on The Bell Witch. So it's well-researched, well-documented, and it's enjoyable. I just really enjoyed it. So small plug for Small Town Monsters there. I don't want to turn it into an infomercial, but they do. Oh, hiccup. Sorry. Good work. I promise that was just water. That was just water in that glass. I promise.
Sure.
I quit drinking.
Vodka looks a lot like water.
It does. Bake, what do you got?
Well, I mean, this has been a challenging year. In the last 2 months, I've been so busy. I know that as the months go on, I want to read a few more books. I just got Shannon's book finally at the house. I started reading a couple of those. I really like the short stories version, the way it goes. It's kind of like a made-for-TV movie where they take the facts and then they make it into in a comprehensive where you can do. Her book is really good. I'm going to read a couple more. I really want to delve into some of that.
Can you bring the phone closer to you? Because I can't hear you very well.
Sorry. I really want to delve in.
There you go.
Hey, that's good enough, Bake.
I really want to delve into a lot of the cryptid stuff and like pick stuff that sticks out, and like a lot of the stuff that other researchers aren't at. I still, like I said, as in general, I think that a lot of the sightings we get are, 50% to more misidentification, especially with been hearing about Florida and all their animals that aren't supposed to be there. Like I was watching BBC the other day, and the African snail is just inundating Florida. And I know that, like, my aunt, she lives in Louisiana, and she said that they see so many weird things. She said, but the problem is when NASA did all their testing, they didn't kill all the apes. Some of them they left go, and a lot of them wound up in these swampy areas because it was the best place to hide. And now they're having breeding populations. So people are seeing things, but the question is it a a creature that's been around for 1,000 years, or is it a space ape that found another space ape that was kind of hot looking?
Monkey, sweet monkey love.
Yeah, monkey love. Yeah. But like, and that's been, me and Forker have talked about it for years. Like the Appalachian Trail, you see so many of these things, but the question is like, PETA lets out a bunch of apes in New York and it gets cold. What's the easiest way to get down to Florida? The Appalachian Trail, No. So are we seeing what everybody assesses we're seeing, or are we seeing something and then we're misidentifying? And the other thing is like you said, when you see it in the moment, it's kind of like, what is that? Like, what's going on? And like, you're just kind of mesmerized to what it could be, not to analyze it at the moment.
Right.
So
look, even if I saw an orangutan in my yard in the summertime, it would still be very startling, and I'd probably go the other way. I don't know enough about them. I don't. So yeah, it would be. No,
but again, when you look at reports of the skunk ape right down south, they tend to be a little bit more ape-like, and we may not be far off from that.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at 2021. How do we be different here on Sasquatch Experience? I think a lot of that is not really be so much guest-oriented as we are discussion-oriented. We'll get some guests on here along the way, but, really talking about the reports. I am working on our first book, The Sasquatch Experiences. They are going to be more short story form, but it's going to kind of be biographical, and it's also going to have some comedy in it, because I think when you think of Sasquatch Experience and go back to our early days, Henry, you had a lot of comedy in association with maybe sometimes unintentional comedy, right? But, true to form, we still talked about the subject that we really revere and we really love and we're passionate about, or we wouldn't be doing it for 15 years and we wouldn't have been in this research for even longer, right? Because we've been in this a long time now, Henry. You and I collectively probably over 50 years of experience now in Sasquatch. Cumulatively, not individually, right? Like together, you put our experiences in. We've been in there for, longer than some people have been alive. So it's all worth the game, I guess, is what I'm trying to illustrate. And I got a lot more stuff going on here in Pennsylvania this year. My commitment is to be more in tune with the area that I live in, where we get a large amount of Bigfoot reports, and I really want to be on top of them here. I got some great researchers. We're relaunching the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. We're really looking to get boots on the ground and get stuff done this year.
Heard anything recently out of the Chestnut Ridge area?
Well, there's always something coming out of the Chestnut Ridge, and I think not too long ago, Tom could correct me in our chat, but I think he had some, I don't want to say an experience, but he's had some interesting events happen out that way.
Right.
And but it's been kind of quiet on these reports. And I mean, unless you're an investigator getting out there right now, I don't know if there's too many people actually going out playing in the woods.
Yeah, I don't know. And we're going kind of back towards the beginning of the show again, but again, it's to your point. We're all at a stay-at-home order. A lot of people were staying in, not traveling as much. Family vacations got canceled. I'm sure the activities continue. It's just, you take away the witnesses, you don't have the stories to share. But I was just curious because, me personally, I'm very fascinated in the entire ridge and all the craziness that goes on there that seems like year after year after year, there's something going on. And, of course, that's throughout all of Pennsylvania. But
well, if you can get this planned out and we can kind of focus on it, we can get you out to the ridge a day or two before we go down south. So, because we can actually kind of make that a trip, a part of the trip, and you get to experience it. We can meet up with some of the guys down there because getting you on the ridge, you hear about it, but once you're there, it's magic.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah.
And the area I've always had, just Keystone State Park. That's always been an area where I've had some experience, and Gray Station is an area that Eric Altman took me to a couple times, and actually we've had rocks thrown at us there at Gray Station.
Wow.
It was a pretty interesting, it's an interesting place. And Henry, through everything we've listened to through the years, PA's a happening place, and I just happen to be living. How's Mississippi with Bigfoot activity? You got a lot going on down there?
Nothing I've heard about recently. I've it's been pretty much dead here.
Again, all the witnesses are at home, so maybe it's not dead. It's just nobody's out there to see it happening.
Vance, being that you're in Illinois, you might want to check out and hook up with Stan Courtney out there, because you're an audio guy. And Stan Courtney's an audio guy. You might want to check out and hang out with Stan Courtney a little bit. Yeah.
It's funny that you mention it because his name came up, I believe it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. Yeah. His name came up, and I'm like, I should reach out and, try to do something that way. I mean, there's a lot of Bigfoot reports that come out of Illinois. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But they're all far south of me. But the last one I went down to investigate was, I'm going to forget the name of the creature. The Cole, come on, Henry, Cole what? In Illinois, whatever. I'm sure I'll think of it the second we all say goodbye, but, that's how it is. But I went down there, and, of course, this, again, a lot of sightings just seem to manifest so much in the late 60s and through the 70s and 80s, and then it kind of tapered off. I know it was a newer subject back then, but man, including Chestnut Ridge area, I mean, there was just a plethora of activity going on all across the United States, from the Patty film to UFO sightings, to what's been going on in Kecksburg when that event happened. And so that was and of course this was happening through Illinois, but there's still a lot of activity that happens anywhere from 30 miles south of me all the way down to the tip of Illinois and to Kentucky and to, Ohio.
Well, here's the best kept secret about what you just said. Activity happened during the time nobody reported it. People just got shamed into not talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
And we have to really dig deep, and that's why historical research sometimes is so important, because it fills in some of those blanks. That we have to dig deep and talk to these, even though they may not have the possibility to go and research today for freshness or, new evidence. But the fact that have historical data points and behavior, you can start building a case study and a file on all that and start building a profile of what we're looking for, right? And we need to do that more. Expedition Bigfoot's got this algorithm. When I first started the Keystone Bigfoot Project, our goal was to map all the sightings from every resource we could get in Pennsylvania, and then use that to kind of create an algorithm of the best place we could deploy ourselves.
Right. Look for a hot spot.
To do
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Right.
What's the fallacy in that? Well, you don't know what date is right.
That's true.
And unless you can be 100% sure that you're not following a bunch of BS, it's really hard to, accurately deploy yourself. Plus, also, the human mind's not infallible. Sometimes details are wrong. When I go out, I write in my journal anymore what the weather conditions were, what the moon phase was, and I don't trust my own judgment. I get it from the National Weather Service or somewhere I can trust, NOAA. So I could say beyond a shadow of a doubt, hey, I was out this night and the moon was waxing my ass. I don't know what the moon was doing, but it was overcast and these were the conditions. And that's why in some instances when I talk about some of the experiences I had, I can articulate it to the moment because I wrote those things down. Other times my fat ass was just too stupid to do it in the moment. So I lack some details. But journaling is important for that reason, folks. Journaling is very important.
Well, sure it is. But if you take a look at the majority of your witnesses, they're not researchers, nor are they journalists. So, hey, when did this happen? I don't know. It was summertime, and you do get very fatigued in trying to get the information. Maybe one of you know, and I'm sure this isn't the first time this was done, but I was just watching a Bigfoot conference, and the question was asked from the speaker, how many of you in the audience have seen something? And you see quite a few hands go up in the air. And he said, now let me ask you, how many of you reported it? And almost everybody's hands went down because of they either didn't have the info, they didn't want to get ridiculed, they felt kind of silly if they were to go ahead and try to share their story. So the witnesses are definitely out there, but you're right, they're not being journaled. But for those of you that are watching that may have an interest in Sasquatchery and you like the outdoors, but you don't consider yourself a researcher, it's okay to carry a small little notepad with you if you go out on a hike or go on a canoe trip. And it's not necessarily about Bigfoot. It could be anything. Maybe you saw something strange swimming in the river that you can't identify, and you can talk about it and journal it, at least get the time of day. And there's quite possibly somebody that had seen the same thing going, and it was...
Absolutely. Report your sighting or encounter with us. SasquatchExperience.com on our website is a great way you can report your sighting and encounter. And the best part is, we actually investigated, and if it's not going to be us personally because we're not there, we'll get somebody out there to you. We do have a wide network of people we work with over the years, right? We have some resources where we can get you out, and we'll look into this stuff because it's really important that we get this. Sasquatch Experience. Vance,
you don't want to anger the wiener. What's my what?
Put your wiener away. Put your wiener away.
It's angry.
Mother of pearl, your angry wiener.
Wow.
Anyhow, folks, I think that's what we got here tonight. We don't know what the next topic of the show is going to be till we have a production meeting, but we got some interesting things coming your way. Baker,
throw us suggestions. Throw us suggestions as to what you want topics to be. We'll talk about it.
Tell us what you want. Tell us what you need.
The Patreon people pay, so they get first dibs.
Absolutely.
They're paying customers, folks.
You pay the money, therefore we are your.
Yeah, that's right. It's a little, you know.
That's all right. I have a tattoo on my back that says, "Me squat you long time." So.
Me squat you long time. All right, Baker, where can folks find you, my friend? James Baker right there.
Honestly, usually if you just check the Sasquatch Experience page, I'm there somewhere. Or I do have a Facebook page, but I'll be honest with you, like a lot of that I want to kind of, I'm available for that. Or if you can't hold of Sean Forker, a lot of times he'll tell me, "Hey, you got to see this guy," and then we'll go do something, So let me know,
That's where you can find James Baker. Henry, where can folks find you, Henry?
Oh, just go to Facebook. Look up Henry B. May the 4th. That's me.
The 4th. Henry B. May the 4th.
Is there going to be a 5th, Henry?
Well, probably not.
He was very shy about answering that question.
It's his New Year's resolution. Let's make it.
Stop it. Vance, where can folks check you out?
Oh, well, they can find me holding my wiener, but...
On a park bench.
Facebook, Vance A. Nesbitt. Instagram, Vance_Nesbitt_NRML. Or, most likely, just contact us here because we'll all hang out here and share information. That's a good way of doing it, too.
A show on the Chestnut Ridge. Now, that's something I can get into. I can at least get me and Bake into that, I think. The other two guys remote, we can get in there.
I'm dialing 911 for Bake right now. So
Bake's giving himself, I really hope that was a CPR.
That was a Chris Farley move there.
Folks, you can find me. I'm Sean Forker. You can find me anywhere at Sean Forker, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm socially active, so you can find me on all those great outlets, and I'm pretty responsive. So if you have a question for me, get at me. I will talk to you at my earliest convenience, and we'll have some great dialogue going on. I like to connect with all our listeners and our friends that like to talk Sasquatch. And guys, you can find us, as I said earlier, on the page Sasquatch Experience on Facebook, Instagram, Squatch EXP on Twitter. And until next time, guys, keep on squatching. Henry?
I'll be good or be good at it.
All right. See you next time, guys. Good night.
You've been listening to Sasquatch Experience. Please rate and review wherever this podcast is consumed. To share your experience, visit us on Facebook or email us, squatchexperience@gmail.com. Keep on squatching.